Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Invictus Racing League here on Twitch, bringing you Season 12 Round 10 action from the Xbox F1 division live from Shanghai for the Chinese Grand Prix. My name is Keiran Wright 92, and as always on a Tuesday evening, I am joined by my broadcast colleague, the ever wonderful Dom the Noodle. Good evening, Dom.
Good evening, Keiran. Shanghai in China. Shanghai International Circuit is 3.3, holding a world record lap time of 1 minute 32.2 by a Ferrari driven by Michael Schumacher back in 2004. The distance to turn 1 tonight will be 380 meters. That is just over half of the distance as the longest in the season of 730 meters in Barcelona. So expect a lot of heavy action, should we say, as every car dives into turn 1. 55% of this race will be held at full throttle due to the fact that turn 1 is a very unbalanced corner and can set the cars to just lose the grid. Here, this car setup being very crucial due to the low grip levels of the smooth asphalt and the smoggy air and the cold track. Yeah, car setup's going to be heavy here. A lot of pressure is going to be put on the front axle to stop the back from spinning out, but there's also going to be a lot of high downforce on that back end, whereas they're going to try to keep it as low as possible to keep the cars, smooth through all the really long straights and the sweeping left and right hand turns. But again, to even out the car, you might see some people run a high air downforce. Allegedly, most drivers here have said tonight that they're going to try a one-stop strategy. Usually that would consist of mediums, hitting lap 12 or 14 for the hard compound, but like I said, with the low traction, it might be looking more towards the two-stop strategy, which will be 2 sets of softs, 1 set of hards, or 2 sets of mediums, if need be. I have just had confirmation from so we've had confirmation from one of the recruits tonight.
We have indeed.
Yeah, so we have a reserve driver tonight, plus two new permanent drivers. The reserve driver being CSR Jen.
Okay.
He is, I believe, a friend of CSR Maitland. I'm guessing so, seeing as they're probably from the same league elsewhere. So good luck to him, and good luck to the other 2 drivers, who I believe are, one of them is in a Mercedes that would be owning Le Mans, and the other one, I hear, was in
Sush, who is driving the Racing Point.
Yes, Shush, and I'm not telling you to shut up, I'm just telling you that he's going to be Shush for this evening.
We go. So that is your track guide from China. So for those of you who may have missed last week's race from France, it was a fantastic race with wheel-to-wheel action throughout. So I do thoroughly suggest you guys go back to the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/InvictusRL, and go and check it out. But it was the Haas of CSR Maitland, Dom did just mention him, who managed to grab his 2nd win in his last 3 races. So he's very much on form coming into this race here in China. And it has now given him an outside chance of getting into that title picture. Vojtech finished 2nd for the Williams team, and Thunderdome, in only his 2nd race this season for IRL, managed to grab himself 3rd place in the Alfa Romeo. So we will have a quick look at the championship standings going into these final 3 races of the season. Unfortunately, we have only got one championship to concentrate on now, and it is that Drivers' Championship. I'll comment on the Constructors in just a bit. Liverpool Ewan is still your current championship leader, but he only has a 9-point lead over his teammate DJ Danny, with the AlphaTauri of Farfu 11 a further 13 points back in 3rd. Only the top 6 drivers here in IRL Xbox are now able to be putting themselves in with a chance of winning the World Championship. Those 6 drivers are Liverpool Ewan, DJ Danny, Farfu, Bots Gerbil, James F1 ETC, and CSR Maitland. Moving on to the Constructors Championships. Now, you may have seen the notification on Twitter earlier today that following a steward's investigation, the 10-second time penalty that DJ Danny received last week in France has been overturned. It has been removed, As a result, DJ Danny has moved up a place in the final positions of the French Grand Prix, which means as a result of that, the Renault team of Liverpool UN02 and DJ Danny are your Constructors Champions for Season 12. So a massive, massive congratulations from both of those guys, who between them have won 6 of the 9 races we've already had so far this season, and do thoroughly deserve the Constructors Championship. We will try and get both Ewan and Danny into the party after the race to have a chat with those Constructors Champions, providing they aren't already on the podium. So as we are loading into qualifying now, Dom, who you got your eye on?
Oh, sorry, I was eating a cookie whilst you were doing that, so I thought I had some time. Yeah, I'm going to keep my eye on the new guys, Mons, Shush, and CSI Jen. I also want to keep my eye on Farfu, who said he's not quite feeling good tonight, so if he does race, I'd like to see if he can push for the Drivers' Championship. Also, I'm very much looking to see if Thunderdome can put that car on the top step tonight. I mean, he didn't have his first race at Silverstone, which was a very, very stop-start poor race in a way. So, I mean, he had to make a comeback. He got on the podium just about. So, yeah, it would be great to see him put himself on the top step.
Indeed, indeed, it shall.
Oh, and Fimo.
Oh, of course, we have got Fimo too as well. We've got the Xbox admin. Ooh, this is looking very overcast here in China today. I'm wondering whether we could get a little bit of the wet stuff done.
Yeah, so remember when I said low grip?
Indeed.
This, dry qualifying full wet race.
There it is.
So I remember saying about low grip, right? Because of it's China, it's smoggy, and the game does interpret that quite well, along with the smooth asphalt. So we're now very much under a dilemma. People are going to go for so everyone is knowing that it's going to be a full race. They're going to go for a wet setup, but people are going to try and bring that back just a little bit to go for maybe a faster lap time in qualifying, and then only struggle by maybe 0.2 per lap in the race, but maybe get an extra second or half a second on those in quali.
So in terms of adapting their car then, Dom, what would these drivers be doing? If they're putting a wet setup on the car, but knowing they've got this dry qualifying, what changes would you be making as a driver to your car to make sure that your car is as fast as possible for qualifying, and obviously keep your car on the track during the race?
So, okay, let's eliminate qualifying for a second here, and we'll talk about how you set up a car for wet. You don't want it to be too stiff, because if it's stiff, it's bouncy. If it bounces, it rocks, and before you know it, you've spun. So you want it to be soft. You want the suspension to lean quite nicely, and it's got to be smooth. Otherwise, one single knock in the road will send that car sideways, or worse, into the barrier. Now, along with that, you're going to want a really high downforce. You're going to want that car to stick to the ground as much as possible. And, running high front wing, high rear wing is going to help with that. And if it does dry up over time, which it will, if it's full wet, the full wet tires will disperse the water and you'll be onto the intermediates. So, I'd say about halfway into the race, just before, maybe just after, but it'll be around the halfway mark. So, yeah, so you're going to really want a soft setup, soft, high downforce. And you're really going to want to maximise getting the 50-50 out of your brakes so you're not locking up the front tyres, but you also want to try and stop yourself from locking up the rear tyres at the same time. Differential. So differential's a weird one. If you're 50-50, I mean, it's going to be really easy to spin the car because both wheels are going to want to do everything independently. So you're going to be looking at maybe a 70%, 65%, because it'll stop the tyres from doing everything independently, but it'll stop them from doing it all on its own. You're going to want to be applying the power out of the corner. You're not going to want to be applying the power when it's turning at all. So you're going to want to be straight. So you could see people knock that up to maybe 80-85%. Along with that, for quali, I mean, maybe make it just a little bit stiffer than you would in the race, maybe drop the front wing a little bit, or maybe even take the risk, drop the front wing all the way down and take that hit until your first pit stop in the race, because it is mandatory that you do a pit stop. So, you know, the first pit stop in the race will then allow you to bring that front wing back up, and you'll be able to gain the time back. But I don't think you're going to be gaining seconds on people here, like 5 or 6 seconds that you might lose in the race if your front wing being off.
And there we go. So we have been riding on board with El Sonedo. He is going to be the first man to cross the line. He crosses the line 1:31.724 on those medium tyres. Knowing that this is now going to be a wet race, Dom, are you just going to put it in your head and do what El Sonedo's done, potentially scrub a set of medium tyres? Just so if the race does then dry up, you can put a slightly scrubbed set of mediums on to try and gain that grip just that little bit quicker than you would than putting on a brand new fresh set, as Thunderdome goes 7/10 faster. Owning Lemons on debut, 1:29.915 on softs. CSI's Yen comes in and pops in a 1:31.818 for the Ferrari, as the Red Bull of IRL Maps also comes in 1:30.2. Farfu, I know a driver that Dom is very, very excited about watching drive. 1:30.952 puts himself into third, as the Racing Point of Raza now crosses the line 1:32.8. So yes, Dom, that question in regards to those tyres and whether you're going to want to try and potentially slightly scrub in a set so you've got that extra grip during the race?
Scrub both. Yes, for sure. Also making sure feel, because not all of these drivers have really, I mean, some of these drivers might have had a setup online before coming into this race, so, I mean, some of them might still be sat in the pits. I mean, we've got a few guys sat in the pits, they might not know how to drive this race right, so they might be sat there finding one online as we speak. So, I mean, you never know. It might just be a fact of, he's going out with the setup he's on, trying to see if it's comfortable for him, and you know, see what his rough lap time would be before DJ Danny puts in a 1:29.5. And that's a really fast lap time, actually.
It's a very fast lap time.
Well. I've got the hiccups as well, and I'm trying to commentate and keep up with everything that's going on. But yeah, no, he's probably just gone out to put some rubber down, because that always helps. Track evolution in this game, and I've said it a million times, and I'll say it a million more if I have to, is very, very good. The way that the game interprets weather conditions is slightly off. I mean, the colder it is, the more rubber that's down, you know, the better the traction you'll get, because, you know, you're not heating those tyres up too much. The game tells you the colder it is, the less traction you've got, the less you can wear out your tyres, apparently. That's not quite how it works. It'll just keep the temperatures down, keeping the pressure down, which is what you kind of want in a way. Low tyre pressure, faster lap times, more grip. So, yeah, he's probably just set himself a bank lap, knowing that he could just put some track evolution down and possibly go out for another lap on a set of softs and push through. Also, like you said, he might have scrubbed them just in case it does dry up. I mean, we know what the weather reports are like in this game, so yeah, it could just be a fact of, oh, I'm going to scrub these just in case they're needed. The game might put him onto a fresh set automatically anyway, but we'll see as it goes on.
Indeed, we were riding on board with Shush there, who is on debut. Put himself up into Piece 2, a 1:29.727 by the new Racing Point driver. So we do have a yellow flag in Sector 1. I think that's just a slow-moving car. Maybe missed his braking zone there. We are riding on board with James F1 ETC, who has also found himself a little bit of form in recent weeks. He had some pretty strong results. Last week, maybe not the best of results for James. That did unfortunately get into a little bit of a tangle with botched gerbil in Sector 2 last week in France. But I did commentate on the realistic performance race with Matty on Thursday, and let me tell you, this man and botched gerbil were very much wheel to wheel for every single lap of that race. So I've got a funny feeling if these two get close to each other again tonight, we could see some very, very good racing again between James and botched gerbil. We're watching James as he comes down the DRS straight. Oh, game has decided that it's going to show me someone that's not James, because why would it not show me James? He's coming down all the back straight on his way up to the finishing line. On the drive up to the line, I believe that may have been an invalidated lap time. In fact, I think it was. Either that or the game has very much glitched at my end, because apparently James is going around turns 2 and 3 and is still having a 1 minute 20 lap time. So I think it's safe to say that the game is somewhat glitching there, ladies and gents. I do apologise. As Jamie29X, who won his first race in IRL on Thursday, puts himself up into P5 with a 1:30.159 for the Red Bull team. So, with just under 9 minutes left in qualifying, there we go. It does now finally put in James's lap. It was a little bit delayed. I'm not sure what happened there. I do apologise for that, ladies and gents. But your top 5, DJ Danny, James F1 ETC, Shush on debut, Owning Lemons on debut, and Sir Sharks. You have CSI Yan down in 16th, Dom.
Yeah, I'm on board with El Tornado right now. A few things about El Tornado. And I say about El Tornado, a few things I want to say regarding El Tornado. First of all, he's supposed to fast sector 2. He was available in sector 2. Second of all, something's happened to him recently in another league, and it's something we would never condone in this league. El Tornado's put himself fourth. Congratulations, mate. I mean, this is a comeback drive as well for El Tornado. He's very much been on a sort of rocky ground recently. He struggled to find his form, and if this could be the start of his form find, then I really respect that. But yeah, something happened to him recently in another league which we would never condone in this league, and action would be taken. So, El Tornado, if you're watching this back later on, or you're watching it now, or someone clips it and sends it to you, we just want you to know, mate, that you're safe here and nothing like that would ever happen to you.
I completely agree with what Dom says there. Completely mirror what he has said. But what we will do, we're not going to mention what happened there, because we don't think it is right to mention that sort of behaviour, because it doesn't deserve to be spoken about. All that the drivers here in Invictus need to know and need to remember is that at any point, myself and any of the other commentators here in IRL will always be more than happy to support any of you guys in any way, shape or form. So please, if you are ever struggling in any way, please do not hesitate to contact any of us.
And not just us, the admins too, the admins, the owners, everyone. There's a lot of work that goes into this stuff, and just because there's a lot of work that goes into it doesn't mean that we don't have time for you guys. We've got a lot of time for you guys, and, without you guys we wouldn't be able to commentate. Indeed. And thanks to you guys, I found my feet in commentating again. Keiran's found his feet in commentating for the first time, and there's a lot of respect that goes out to every single one of you who turn up every single week, without fail, and put in 100% right until the end, no matter what result you get. Whether you're last, whether you're first, whether you start on pole and you end up crashing out, you'll still usually either you'll stick around or you'll have a good conversation with someone. I mean, I get it when people crash people out and you kind of get a bit hot-headed about it, but I mean that's the love of F1, right? What would F1 be without a bit of anger sometimes, So yeah, thank you to everyone. And if you ever need anyone, drop someone a message. We're all here for you.
Indeed, also, indeed. As like Fair Moto puts in a P7 in that Williams, 1:29.966.
I was gonna say that's close. I between P1 and I'd say P7, at P8 maybe. It's very, very close. This is a very close league, and I love watching every second.
In fact, I can tell you that, Don, between P1, DJ Danny, and P8, who is Sir Sharks, who's currently on a lap, they are separated by 0.7 of a second.
I mean, between P1 and
P1 and P12 are technically separated by a second.
Yeah, I was going to say, between P1 and P12, there's a second's difference. So, I mean, I couldn't compete with these guys. These guys are mental. Set in the car in all sorts of conditions. Oh, when the
Indeed.
sun's coming out, you might see some faster lap times now. Like I said, with the game being broken with track temperatures and stuff. So yeah, but let's have a look, see if Alcinado can post a slightly faster lap time. I mean, he's gone out on 2 sets of softs now. Let's be honest, you're not going to use them.
Coming up across the line, 1:29.608, moves himself up to P3 in that McLaren. Fantastic move, fantastic drive there from Sir Sharks. I think we've got Botch Gerbil, who is in his garage at the moment, about to potentially come out. Fairmoto has now come into the pits. Who have we got on fast laps? Where is
We've got Alcinado about to start one.
Shush is just about to finish one. He's just come off of the back straight. Ooh, a little bit sideways coming out of the hairpin there. I think that may have scrubbed a little bit too much off of his lap there. And yeah, he does decide to dive into the pits instead. Alcinado is, as Dom said, just about to start an outlap. Here he comes, Alcinado out on track. I think may potentially be the only person who is setting a hot lap, other than potentially CJ Allen, who has now just dived into the pits. So it will be the man we are watching on screen now. Alcinado is the first man to be setting a fast time, unless James has overtaken him, which he's not. James is on his way out of the pits as we speak.
Yeah, like I said, the sun's come out now, the track temperature, it'll tell them that the track temp has started to come up now. So, and the ambient temperature too. So, you'll find that they won't be able to push the engine for as long, so they might have to cruise around the first lap. But now the sun's definitely come out and the track's started to heat up a little bit. Oh, Alcinado's invalidated his lap time. Unlucky, buddy.
I will say, Dom, less than 3 minutes left in this session. Have you seen who's currently down in P18 and has not left the pits yet?
Yeah.
Liverpool Ewan, current championship leader, yet to leave his pit box. Could he be trying to set himself the most audacious last to first challenge that he can possibly think of?
Well, I mean, it's a 1:30 around here, right? We give people, say for instance he comes out, so yeah, he'd have to be coming out right about now.
We have a quick look.
He'd
He
have
is
to be.
still very much in his pit box.
Because you've got to allow for 30 seconds to get out of the pit box, right? At the pit lane. However, as I say that, one of the Renaults has been allowed out of his garage. Now, would that by any chance be... Is it Liverpool Ewan? Just
Here
as I
we
say,
go.
you need to allow 30 seconds to get out, plus you need to allow for the 1:30 lap, roughly. He is going to set himself the goal of... I haven't bankered, and he's on the medium compound apparently. I don't know if that is quite right.
CSR Maitland 130.158 moves himself up into P9. Sorry to jump in front of you there, Dom. We're going to quickly watch CSR Yen as he comes around the final corner on the last little hunt up to the line. Crosses the line, P9, 130.118. Fantastic drive by the debutant. And you know what? I will say, I'm going to say this, Dom. All three of our debutants that we have for this race are in the top 10.
Yeah,
Shush, P2. Owning Lemons, P7. And CSR's Yan is in P11. We will go and have a quick look at Ewan whilst Dom is going to say what he's saying. And I can confirm, Dom, Ewan is on the medium tyre.
Yeah, so this is what I'm thinking. So I don't think he cares about this qualifying session, right? I think he's really much comfortable with himself in the wet. Yes, that's supposed to be PG. But no, I don't think he cares. I just think he wants to prove to the boys and prove to himself that he knows he's got it in him. And if he does go first, that's a big, you know, few words to some people. But I genuinely think this is just proof that he's got it in him. And apparently, no. So he's come around the last corner and invalidated his lap time. So what's happened is...
Whoo, DJ Danny 129.235 increases his gap that he already had at the top of those timing screens. We will ride on board with Thunderdome as he comes around the hairpin here. We have finished qualifying. The checker flag has dropped now here in Shanghai in the Invictus Racing League Season 12 Round 10. Thunderdome crosses the line. 1:29.449 puts himself on the front row of the grid, Dom.
I told you. I said Thunderdome could be looking quite strong. He looked strong last week. He looked strong
Shush
this
beats
week.
him though. 1:29.280. Shush has gone. Nah, that's my second place. You're not getting that off me, son.
We're
Shush
picking a
goes
different name
P2.
for this guy because I've had enough of you shushing me away. Jesus! We're gonna call him Shoe or something. No, seriously, Thunderdome looked great last week. Looks great this week. Could possibly bring him a win if he can get his strategy right. The undercut is big here, so take that into account as well, guys. To those of you that are tuned into the stream from the race, just to find out that I know for a fact that it is very big on the undercut here. That's cheating.
Liverpool Ewan does not set a lap time.
Yeah,
Our
he's
current
going to be very upset with that. Or
championship
very,
leader.
very, very bold. So we'll keep an eye on that.
James
Finn
F1.
Moto has thanked Nathan HRX for a tow. Apparently, Finn Moto has gained some time in this track on a tow.
Ooh. Interesting. We've got yellow flags being waved around the track. I think Codemasters is having a little bit of an issue here. I'm not trying to see who we've got left across the line, because apparently James F1 ETC is on an outlap, despite qualifying being over. So I'm not quite sure how that's the thing, ladies and gents, but there we go. Everyone has now finished. That is now going to wrap up qualifying here in Shanghai. We were running on board with James F1 ETC, who does finish in P6 during qualifying. So we will have a look. DJ Danny in the Renault, top of the timing screens, 45 thousandths of a second faster than Shush in the Racing Point. Thunderdome in P3, only limit to P4. Sir Sharks, Sir Sharks, James F1, CJ Allen, Raza, Fairmoto, and El Senado round out your top 10. With Bodge Gerbil, Jamie29X, CSR Yan, CSR Maitland, IRL Mats, Farfu down in P16, Nathan HRX, and the big shock, our championship leader, Liverpool Ewan, 02 in the Renault, back of the grid, not setting a time.
Yeah, I have got confirmation. It was not intentional. He did plan to go out on the last lap and post a quick lap time. It wasn't. It's not like he went out just to scrub a set of tyres. It was genuinely that he just messed up the last couple of corners, and everyone knows what it's like when you come out on a qualifying lap. If you mess up the exit or the entrance of the last corner, it'll invalidate the lap you've just done on your out lap and your first flying lap. So yeah, he's really given himself a task here. I have asked him if he thinks he can win from here. I'm gonna take a guess that he believes he can. I mean, he's fast enough to. He's just as fast as DJ Danny, if not faster. So yeah, hopefully he can do it from here.
Indeed, indeed. So as we just watch as the clock winds down at the end of qualifying here at the Chinese Grand Prix, I will again give a massive shout out to the debutants. Shush, who finishes P2, first row of the grid, owning Lemons, second row of the grid. CSR Dian down in P13 as well, all on their first races in IRL, and only technically were added to the grid about 15 minutes before we actually went live with the race this evening. So massive congratulations to them for finishing where they have, as we are now loading everything up into the race.
Yeah, before you take on,
yep,
I will let you do your shameless plugging very momentarily. I would like to point something that was put in the Discord, and I very much agree with it. This is going to show who paid attention to the weather forecast, you'll be able to tell by lap 5 who is running a dry setup, because, oh good god, is
that is wet.
Wales weather.
That is wet. So, as Dom said, he's going to now allow me to shamelessly plug. First, we will plug the weekly schedule here at Invictus. We stream Mondays through Thursdays on the YouTube channel and on our YouTube channel and here on Twitch. On a Monday evening at 8 PM, it is Gareth and Sab taking you through the PlayStation F1 League. On a Tuesday, over on the YouTube channel, it is Malc with the PlayStation F2, as well as myself and Dom here, obviously, on the Twitch channel. On a Wednesday, you've got 4 races to choose from, 2 from the PlayStation side of things, 2 from the PC side of things. PlayStation F3, hosted by Hoppers and Vojtech, and Andriy will take you through the action in F4. JCol and Dan take you through PC F1, and Geek and its Fozzy will take you through the action in F2. On a Thursday, it is moving from the equal side of things over to the realistic performance leagues. We have 2 realistic performance leagues here in Invictus. One on the Xbox side of things, hosted normally by Andrew and Matty. Unfortunately, Matty is not available this week, so the wonderful Dom will be jumping in to team up once again with the fantastic Andrew Gatton here on the Twitch channel. So they will be here live from 8 o'clock. And over on the YouTube channel, it is Tim and Malc taking you through the PlayStation side of things. If you guys want to get involved with all things Invictus, head over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/InvictusRL. All of the races that are streamed or on any of our platforms will go on that YouTube channel, so you can watch every single league and all of the races from those leagues. You can also get involved in the conversation on Twitter. The main Invictus Twitter is at InvictusRL. If you want the specialised ones for the Xbox side of things, it is InvictusRL_Xbox. Over on Instagram, we are available at Invictus Racing League. And of course, the big main one itself, the Invictus Racing League website, which is InvictusRacingLeague.com. Shameless plug over.
Shameless plug over indeed. And I have had to run and grab my umbrella before we go down into the
monsoon that is China
later on. Yeah, this is normal weather for China. I mean, you know, they get it quite often, but you should be able to see this just as much as I can. But there are puddles in the pit lane. So this is actually a great example of how the weather forecast can affect the race. So this puddle's in the pit lane. That will very much hinder scrubbing the first set of wets that get put on in the pit lane or intermediates, because when it's dry, you can very much just spin your wheels up and it'll get rid of that first really clean, polished layer of rubber. But when it's wet, it's a lot harder to do that because your wheels start to aquaplane. And if you don't know what aquaplaning is, look it up. I'm going into that definition tonight is going to be slightly harder than going into the DRS definition. If we've got time under a safety car, I'll explain it. But, so your tires start to aquaplane for a second, which means you don't really get rid of that first layer of rubber. Which means these wets or inters that go on will very, very, very much be, how do you put it? Slippy.
Slippy, to say the least. I will say, on this formation lap, DJ Danny is going very, very slowly, Dom.
Yeah,
he's being overtaken by everybody.
Yeah, if he's put his pause button on just for the
either the meme
or to go around, I mean that would explain why. A league we raced in recently, one of the boys had a lag issue, and this is how his car reacted. So if DJ Danny's got a lag issue, this might be the cause of it. But that has really split the pack up, so it's going to be interesting to see if Shush holds them up, to see if he can help keep the heat in the tyres and just weave. You know, he's got a long straight to try it on, so you might as well. Also, good luck to everyone tonight. Good luck to the new guys. It'd be nice to hear from all 3 of you. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, it would be so good to have 3 debutants and have all 3 of them in the party in their first race.
It would be quite fun. You can see the predicted strategy on screen there, guys. You're looking at about a lap 14 pit if you're one-stopping it. If you're not confident with the reduced grip on the tyre, you may go for a two-stop. That will mean you will come in at around lap 9, and then again around probably the lap 17 or 18 mark to take you through to the end. Shush has very much not held the pack up. The pack are going to be very much sat at their pit boxes for a very long time as DJ Danny eventually gets himself round to the grid. I think Danny has moved so slowly, even his teammate Liverpool Ewan, you can see him just in front of him there, has actually managed to overtake him. So you see the cars now starting to line up on the grid. You will eventually see a Renault of DJ Danny just drive straight through the middle of everybody. You can see him at the back of the screen now. Here he comes. Whee! Through the back he goes.
That very much is sorry, boss. No.
Sorry, boys. I'm here now. I was a little bit delayed, but we're here. There we go.
Oh, no, my car's slow.
Everyone has lined up. Here we go. We are waiting for the 5 red lights to get the action underway here in China. Just waiting. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Red lights are on and out, and away we go here in China. Getting off to a very sluggish start, of course, in these wet weather conditions.
Oh,
and I will say,
that is a safety car.
That was a big shunt there from Sush, and he has unfortunately crashed out of this race. It is a full course safety car. The safety car has come out on turn 1. We've had penalties fly left, right, and centre here. We've got both of the RP comms in the chat. Andrew, Matty, how are we, guys? Have had a little bit of a collision on lap 1, unfortunately. One of the debutants, Shush, in the Racing Point, has had a bit of an issue. And we've also lost IRL Mats as well.
Yeah, that's a very hard start to the league. I mean, from what I've seen, and you might be able to clarify this and just sort of second it, but from what I saw, they just kind of they decided to go 3 wide into turn 1, and I mean, you know, Shush didn't have a great start, which I believe he was second, so yeah, there was a possibility that he got slow. The 4 Sharks would have pulled up. Oh, apparently there's a lobby restart.
Oh. We have just been told by the admin comms that we are going to have a lobby restart due to the start of that race. So due to the way that this race has started, with the absolute madness that ensued into turn 1, we are going to reset the lobby.
Everyone's putting cars into the end
as you can see, everyone is just yeeting into one another because they know that nothing is going to happen. So these drivers will now just start leaving the session, and we will start again, which is fine, which isn't too bad because I'm used to this.
I've literally just watched a Danny Rick wannabe attempt to dive bomb into the pits, and instead he just hasn't hit the brakes.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Also, yeah, I'd like to just say that no one was at fault in that first incident. It happens. So, you know, just please, you know, everyone, just take a second. Oh, that's why.
Uh-oh. There we go. We have got Xbox issues.
Remember that issue we had?
Yeah. Chat, ladies and gentlemen, in the Twitch channel, just be aware this could temporarily end the stream. If it does, we will be back as quick as possible. Just be aware that this may quickly end the stream, so just bear with us.
Yeah, so one of the things that happened there then is Surcharks has been disconnected by the same thing that we just had. Therefore, his car has had the AI start, which finds full traction immediately. It's then sent him up the inside, up the middle, and it's put just out of the race.
Let's see if we can get ourselves back into the session. We can. Lobby is reopened, Dom, if you're not already in.
I am joining right now.
There we go. I think we are all good now. We will just jump straight into a very wet race. As you can see by the weather on that third column, second row down, weather very wet. So we are going to have a very wet race.
I mean, do you have to say that the people in the top 10 have to start like as they qualified on then?
Well, I mean, it's a wet race.
Because
so
that would be entertaining to watch
well, no. As for those who may not be aware, if you do have a dry qualifying and a wet race, your tyres you are able, obviously, to put a set of wet tyres on. However, if it is a dry race and a dry qualifying, you have to put the tyres that you qualified on. So what we're going to do, whilst we are waiting for this lobby to get back up and running, got a few facts and stats from China. This is the second time that IRL has visited China. It's the second time on this game. Last visit was the Season 11 Round 4 races for both Xbox F1 and Xbox F2. The pole time there was a 1:29.172 by DJ Danny in the Renault for the Xbox F1 League. DJ Danny took that pole position and transferred that into a win. He did finish that race in first place, with Ryan97 finishing in second and DXTHK in third. On the F2 side of things, it was DG Hypers, who no longer races in IRL, getting the win. Our very own Fair Moto finishing in P2, with Dan23X, who is a reserve driver here in Invictus Racing League, finishing in third. I will say, it would be very, very interesting to see whether he is able to do this. If Liverpool Ewan is able to get the win here, he would break the record for the most wins in a season in IRL Xbox history. Currently ties that record with his teammate DJ Danny and Fair Moto on 4 wins. Should Liverpool Ewan get the win today, though, he will of course break that record. A win for Ewan today would also move him into tied second place for the amount of overall wins in IRL Xbox. It would tie him with Fair Moto in second place. Current leader for that is DJ Danny on 8 wins in IRL Xbox. DJ Danny, Liverpool Ewan and James F1 ETC are all entering their 31st IRL Xbox F1 race this evening. And with 3 races to go, there could be a lot of records broken, because Liverpool Ewan has already scored the 3rd highest points total in a season in IRL Xbox F1. He currently sits on 95 points. The record is 118. Liverpool Ewan is only 23 points behind the record for the most points in a season in IRL Xbox F1 history. That record is actually held by Fair Moto. It was a season 11, IRL Xbox history, it is a season 11 F2 record by Fair Moto of 118 points. So we will see whether Ewan is able to break that record over the next 3 races. Dom, you've had this lobby reset. What's going through your head right now?
Same that the Discord's been picking off. I mean, everyone's been like, can we change our setups from dries to wets? The answer to that is no. You're not allowed. That's cheating. However, you will be disqualified if you get found to be using a different setup. That is something I found out tonight. So, so basically what you're thinking is, you know, you really want to just sort of get yourself into a thing of it's still going to be wet. In fact, the weather is very wet. The safety car could come out if it gets too wet. By the looks of it, it's not going to get any better. So we're going to be on the wets the whole race, more than likely. So just get comfortable with not winning the race. Because anyone that the person that uses traction control, for instance, and turns their ABS on, they're gonna have the traction over you. They just will, right? So they could come out first, but there's a lot of factors to vary in. So every driver should at this point be thinking, right, I'm just going to get very comfortable with not being first, not taking a podium, because that is what could happen. And the realism is the front three might get away quite quickly, but I believe that 2 of them are on dry setups, so yeah. Also, all eyes are on Raza, because he originally did go to get a white setup online, and then was told no. So, all eyes on Raza, mate.
There we go. There we go. So this is the Invictus Racing League. This is Season 12, Round 10 action from the Chinese Grand Prix. It is a very, very wet Chinese Grand Prix. We have unfortunately had to have a server restart, so we do apologise for that, ladies and gents. Had a little bit of carnage on lap 1. A load of cars just stopped early on in the lap, which of course affected other drivers.
Oh, it looks like it's heavier than before. Oh, good God.
If you thought the puddles before were bad...
I just had a thought.
Yep. What is your thought, my friend?
In 2 weeks' time, we'll be celebrating our final race this season. Which means this is the last time we'll get to work together for the next season. Which means it's the last time they'll be able to hear our beautiful voices.
How so? Are you not with me next Tuesday and the Tuesday afterwards?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like in 2 weeks' time, that's gonna be it.
Of course, after
a new season.
after Singapore in 3 weeks' time, guys, we will be taking a little bit of a break from Invictus until the new season. Actually, I tell a lie, we're not. We are not. There is a little thing that one of the admins and people in the board of directors was cooking up. I will try and find it whilst we are waiting.
Oh, we've had many problems with people cooking things up. Have you seen Breaking Bad? Also, I'd like to point out, Firmoto or Jamie29X, whichever one is watching the stream right now, because one of you usually is. 50 quid says you don't start on softs.
Dom just throwing out the
50 quid says you don't start on softs, lads. I want to see some racing.
Oh,
yeah, so what have they been cooking up, Keiran? Seeing as you know this and I don't.
Just trying to find it now, my friend. Bear with me.
Are we allowed to talk about this, though?
As far as I'm aware, I've not been told otherwise. It was discussed. Here we go. So, going from... There we go. As we have 15 seconds left of the practice session here. Oh, sorry, of the session even. The formation lap. So, this was from the main head honcho himself of Invictus Racing League. I really hope that we are able to say this. I have not been told we're not allowed to. But there is going to be what we call a Nations League / Champions League knockout phase style tournament going on between the leagues.
Oh. Okay. Do you know what? For the first time in a race this week, I'm not going to put the tyre on, because it does not take a genius to look at the weather and think they're on wets.
I mean, I'll do it anyway because, of course, we have to. But yeah, there is a chance.
Position change.
There is a chance, ladies and gents, that it won't be the last time you hear Dom and I, as there is the potential for another little bit of racing. It won't be a league. It will be a little bit of fun, but it's a team event. It will potentially be a team event here in Invictus. When we know more about it, we will be sure to let you guys know. But at the moment, because nothing has been fully confirmed, as of now, after Singapore in technically 3 weeks' time, it will be the last time you hear Dom and I until Season 13, which will probably, in fact, no, I can confirm it will be on the brand new F1 2021 game. I do love how Matty has been timed out by the bot for spamming emojis.
It's great. I hate how that bot times even. Does it time us out?
It won't time you out as much fast. Let me do this actually, because it's only fair.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I want to put forward to the admins, because they will hear this, and I'll also put it through in the chat as well, in Discord later. But I want to see maybe, before we go into the new league, just to refresh people's memories, maybe a 5-lap weekend, so like a 5-lap evening, we commentate, they do 5-lappers just to get back into the swing of things, or just because it will be an absolute meme. 100% of one of the following 3 tracks: Monaco, Singapore, or Austria.
It will not happen, Dom, and you know it.
I will put that forward. I want to see 100% of one of those tracks to keep our commentary voices spick and span, and so that you can hear us for 100% of a race. Which means we'll be having to switch over who does lead comms for a little bit, because it will get quite interesting at certain spots.
Indeed we shall. Right, the cars are now lined back up on the grid, ladies and gents. You can see the strategies there. Lap 14 to 23 for those 1-stops, which is probably what you will see people using. We will go with this ahead view here. We're going to wait for these 5 red lights. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Out and away we go here in China for the second time of asking. Got us to a much cleaner start now here. DJ Danny moving up into, well, maintaining his first place. Thunderdome moves himself up into P2. Sir Sharks in P3. Shush is P4 as the cars now come down the hill here on lap number 1. As normal, guys, with the starts of these races, don't pay too much attention to the timing screens on the left-hand side. It will jumble itself around quite a bit in this opening lap or so.
However,
I will
the
say,
top 5 are quite right, and I believe, yeah, it looks quite right at the moment. But my butt cheeks just clenched, because there was a slight argument in the Discord about how Shush was thrashed out in, not before we even got into the first turn. On the last start, and it very much looked like the same thing was gonna happen again, and I very much squeezed everything in my body.
Ooh, CJ Allen gets pushed wide there by Jamie29X. Sorry to jump in there, Dom. CJ Allen has now dropped down a few positions, is now in P11. Jamie29X takes the P8 position off of him there. I will say, it looks like quite a few of these cars have purposely underfueled them.
Yeah, more than likely. I mean, you're going to be in mix 1 just to stop the traction from being lost, so it would make sense. Also,
as we have someone go sideways, I think that's Maitland in the Haas. It is indeed CSR Maitland in the Haas going sideways out of the long right-hander as we come onto the main straight here. Maitland's going to have a fair bit of work to do now to try and see if he can get himself back up. What I will quickly say though, Dom, Liverpool Ewan, currently P11.
Yeah, up 7. It was what I was going to mention. I was going to tell you to look at your hands so you didn't look at the screen and try and guess where he is now. He's now up 6. Apparently he's just been overtaken by CJ Allen. I will double check that. Just,
Yeah, he has.
just for
We are on board with Ewan. He has been overtaken by CJ Allen.
But, I mean, yeah, congratulations, man. I didn't think you were that good in the wet. I didn't think anyone was that good in the wet. Oh, CSR Maitland has retired in the pits. That would make sense. It is just so damn dark out there. I'm riding on board in my perspective, and I tell you what, this is hard to watch.
Oh, Nathan Ajax and Fozzy
see.
getting very close. Yeah, it is
I'm
very,
on board
very
with
tough
just
to
right
see.
now. He is about 4.5 tenths down from an England ones. Yeah, and it is very hard to see his car. It's almost impossible to see his flashing red light, the rain light on the back. So, it's almost impossible to see out there right now. You literally have to be out of someone's tail. It's almost impossible to see the curves too, and the dry lines. So, I mean, these boys are doing better than we could, for sure.
Indeed,
And apparently, it's like Maitland's car back out from the pit lane.
Yeah, the game has for some reason glitched and Maitland's car is out on track. There we go. The game has now pulled it off to the side of the road, and now the car is out of the way. We are going to ride on board with Shush here, as Dom said, very much trying to get past that Mercedes of owning lemons. As you are going to start seeing fastest laps of the race now get exchanged. Thunderdome has currently got it with a 1:48. Let's just have a quick look and see what it was. 1:48. 7:21 as CSR Jan picks up a 3-second time penalty.
And I'm going to say this now, as every track I say, penalties here are key. Penalties in every track are key. You stick away from those games, you stick away from the corner cuts, you will jump positions. Also, how strong are DJ Danny and Thunderdome right now? They are almost 5 seconds up on P3 and there's only about a half second between them. They are looking very much like a dominant force out the front.
They are indeed, my friend. This also, with everything how it is at the moment, would very much blow the driver's standings wide open, because with this result, if it was to end right now after these 3 laps, of course it wouldn't, but if it was to end after these 3 laps, DJ Danny would actually inherit first place in the drivers' championships. He only trails Liverpool Ewan by 9 points. So all DJ Danny needs to do, technically speaking, to take first place in the driver's standings, is to get himself on the podium this evening and have his teammate not score any points.
Yeah, also, I mean, yeah, he's very strong. DJ Danny's picked up a lot of pace and traction the last few weeks, and I'm enjoying his performances, but I'm on board with him, and he is not putting a foot out of the line. He's not putting that car an inch off of where it should be, and he is enjoying the fact that he's just out in the open, just doing his own thing, commanding the speed of the pack behind him, telling people, yeah, you can do that, but when I slow down for you. Also, fun fact for you guys that didn't know in chat, I found out the other day that you can have a safety car because it is too wet.
You can indeed. If the race stewards decide that the track is too wet and it becomes a danger to the other drivers, we will get a safety car that comes out and just slows the field down a little bit to make it a little bit safer, as Liverpool Ewan does make that move on El Senedo in the McLaren, moves himself up into P10. So Liverpool Ewan now in the points, started at the back of the pack after not setting a time in qualifying, is now up inside the top 10. A very, very strong drive early on here from our current championship leader, Liverpool Ewan. He is trying to hunt down this AlphaTauri of CJ Allen. who is in turn himself trying to hunt down the Red Bull of Jamie29X, who is then trying to hunt down the Racing Point of Raza. There is a very, very long train of cars here trying to attack each other, and as I say that, on the note of attacking each other, Shush and Owning Lemons are again getting very, very close to each other. Owning Lemons on the right-hand side of the track here. Shush trying to see if he can get close to the switch. He's going to try and take him under braking. Tries to go down the inside. Gets his car on the apex first. And makes that move on Owning Lemons. What a move by the new Racing Point driver over the new Mercedes driver. That was a very, very good move, Dom.
I second that. What a move. And that day, if a team owner from another league is watching or something along those lines, and these boys are in your league, right? That day is very much what you need to be looking for as a team owner. The ability to, in the dangerous, wet, slippy conditions, he has put that car in a spot where everything is at risk. He could slide it just a bit too much on the exit and it is game over. And he has made that stick and it was beautiful.
I will say, Dom, I think I very briefly jumped on board with CJ Allen. And it looked like on my screen, on the onboard, that CJ Allen had a little bit of a tap with someone. I think. Has Liverpool even got wing damage? I'm not 100% sure.
I will tell you now.
Ewan, we'll have a quick look. I don't think he has.
It's too wet. No, we're all good. I don't think anyone's
No,
damage.
there's no damage
the cars
there.
seem to be pretty. The cars seem to be pretty planted on the track. I mean, if anything, Sir Sharks has looked kind of over the place.
Bit of a battle here between CJ Allen and Raza. CJ Allen gets around the outside of Raza into the long right-hander onto this straight now. He's going to move left and right. He can't move too much though. Excessive weaving will get you in trouble here in Invictus. You're able to have your one move. Is Raza going to think about going down a move on the inside of CJ Allen here? He is very much thinking about it. Raza, is he going to make it stick? He's not going to make that stick. CJ Allen keeps his car just ahead of that Racing Point, and now Raza needs to be looking in his rear view mirror because he has got a Renault-shaped sized Liverpool Ewing bounding towards him. Liverpool Ewing with everything turned on there. Probably X3, probably ERS had that turned up to max and went, I'll see you later, Raza. I'm moving up this pack.
Yeah, also, Thunderdome's taken about 2/10 off of DJ Danny in the last lap, 2 to 3/10 since I'd say the last corner of the last lap. So, yeah, this front battle, whilst it's not quite a battle yet, it is shaking up to be one, and I am loving watching every single second of it, whether it's aerial footage, ground footage, onboard footage. It is getting to be insane.
Indeed,
out the front
is.
Make
also,
that 3/10.
Talking about out at the front, DJ Danny and Thunderdome are very much out at the front on their own, as the gap between Thunderdome and Shush, as we watch Jamie29X and James F1 ETC going toe to toe here around these corners. They're getting very, very close to each other. James pushes his way through, makes sure that he maintains that P6 position from his fellow admin Jamie29X in that Red Bull. The gap between Shush and Thunderdome, 9.5 seconds, Dom. In 6 laps to have Danny and Thunderdome pull out. Well, for Danny, it is a 10-second lead over P3. It's just insane.
Yeah, it's crazy, and like I said just before, this will now show you who still has Andriy set upon. And I'm going to say everyone from about P3 down has got Andriy set upon, apart from maybe Liverpool you, and he might have. It looks respectable as to his situation. Fozzy and IRL Mats, again, they could. Jamie29X definitely has. He's jumped 5. So I'll give you a rundown of who's jumped positions. So Thunderdome has jumped 1. Sir Sharks jumped 1. Jamie29X has jumped 5. Liverpool Ewan has jumped 9. IRL Mats and Fozzy 11 both jumping 2 positions. Now, the biggest drop in position since the start is Fimo, who dropped 6, which is a pretty big, hefty drop. But a nine position jump from Liverpool Ewan is big, and
we have a car that's not moving very well in Sector 2. That is Nathan HRX in the Alpha there. It looks like he had a little bit of a spin coming out of the end of Sector 1. He went very sideways again there. He looks to be really, really struggling here with the track conditions here. Hopefully, as he goes wild, sliding again by Nathan HRX. Hopefully he's able to get that car under control. We're going to jump up the field a little bit. We're going to look at our championship leader, Liverpool Ewan, who is trying to hunt down the big train that's ahead of him. And it is a train that consists of CJ Allen, Jamie 29X, James F1 ETC, and owning Lemons. That is P5 to P8. Liverpool Ewan with a good drive here and timing his moves to perfection could very much get himself up into the top 5 if he does things well. I think Nathan HRX is having a little bit of an issue with his car there. I wouldn't be surprised if he does come into the pits, and he does indeed dive into the pits, possibly to put just another set of tyres, or maybe he's just run them down a little bit too much in terms of the rubber. In fact, what we're going to do, let's go. In fact, he has retired from the session. It's a real shame to see, but it is respectable of him to return to the pits before he goes and retires from the session. We're going to have a quick look at this top battle at the front between DJ Danny and Thunderdome. It's only fair that we give these guys a little bit of a look. Obviously,
they look very planted.
They do. They look very, very planted indeed. For those who may have seen that bottom right hand corner with the red wrench that was shown there, that's just to tell Thunderdome that his teammate is still technically in the pits. The game will probably do with Nathan's car what it did with Maitland's, so about halfway through Sector 1, Nathan's car will pull off to the side of the track. Hence why you're seeing the yellow flags in Sectors 1 and 2. The car will now pull over to the side of the track and will then disappear. And that will be him out of the way. We're going to jump back now. We've just watched Danny and Thunderdome for just that little bit. We're going to jump back to Liverpool U. In fact, we're going to jump a little bit further back as Farfu makes a move on IRL match. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 3. Shush got himself a 5. In fact, Shush, has he just retired from the session, Dom?
It looks like he has.
I think Shush has just retired from the session, ladies and gents.
Which is a shame, because Shush was...
He was having a really, really good race. I'm not sure what would have happened there.
5 seconds up on Sir Sharks.
I will let Dom try and investigate what had happened there, as we watch some of the other battles in this race. I believe Dom may have just found out what has happened.
I think if he's a wheel user, which it looks like, he's lost FFB.
So for those who don't know what FFB means, it is force feedback, and in conditions like this, I believe Dom can definitely vouch here. FFB very, very important.
Yeah, it's... Force feedback is a godsend for sim racers. It will tell you when your car is fighting you, it'll tell you that you can fight the car. So for instance, say your back end starts to slide out and you're turning, say for instance DJ Danny now, right? Say for instance he comes into this right hand, this left hander he's about to go into, and the car starts to slip out at the back. His wheel, he's turning left, the wheel is going to fight him and turn right, which then tells him, right, we're not, you know, the back end's gone out, we need to move this way to straighten it up a little bit. And he's then going to have to either fight that to correct it, or just, I guess, sort of send it a little bit to the left. And there's a lot of things you can do, and and I can't really speak about it too much because speaking about it and explaining it is a lot easier than is a lot harder than just doing it, because it's in the moment you do it. I'd have to go back and do it, and I'd have to be doing it when I explain it. But yeah, full speed rack is a godsend in wet conditions. So it's very unfortunate that we've lost Shush to
two-wheel issues. It is
to force feedback issues. Also, he does run no traction control. He said no traction control in the rain. Without it, it'll just cause a safety car, and he is very much right. So unlucky, Shush. We hope to see you again next week at the, I'm gonna say beautiful track of, and I can't remember it.
It is the track from which my tyres went bang in the race, in the league that you and I both race in, my friend.
Well, that could be any track, mate. Spain.
Ha 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 ha, yes, it's Spain. We will be live next week from the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya in Spain. So Shush, hopefully we get to see you there, my friends. As we watch Liverpool Ewan having a battle with Jamie 29X. We did say, providing Ewan times his battles well, he will be able to move himself up that field. He did get a move on CJ Allen, but CJ Allen has just come around the inside of Liverpool Ewan there and has taken him into that right-hander. Ewan drops back down into P8, looking to try and see if he can get a move back past that AlphaTauri, as Ewan's teammate DJ Danny puts in a 1:47.899 to set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far. We are here on lap 11 at Shanghai in China. My name is Keiran Right 92 as CJ Allen drives into the pits, runs a little bit too wide there, almost put himself into the wall. Luckily was able to hold on as he dives into the pits. My name is Keiran Right 92. I am joined as always on a Tuesday evening by the fantastic Dom the Noodle. This is Season 12, Round 10 action in the Invictus Racing League Xbox F1 division. If you guys are enjoying what you are seeing and you would like to get involved in the conversation, we are live on the Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Invictus Racing League. I myself am in the chat if you guys do want to come and have a little chat with us, as Liverpool Ewan has a little bit of a slide there at the end of Sector 1, but maintains the car pretty well as he does that. If you want to get involved in the conversation on Twitter, you can find the Invictus Racing League over at InvictusRL. You can find the Xbox side of things at Invictus over at InvictusRL_Xbox. Please feel free to give us a follow on both of those accounts and get involved in the conversation. Of course, we have normally got the realistic performance team of Andriy and Matty taking you through the action on a Thursday evening. Unfortunately, Matty won't be with us this week, so it will be my broadcast colleague Dom that's going to jump in and give the wonderful, amazing Andriy Gatton a hand on Thursday night over at the realistic side of things here from Shanghai. What have you been watching whilst I've been doing the promos, Dom?
I've just been watching how well DJ Danny and Thunderdome have been doing. However, I would like to point out that under wet conditions, you do start to get comfy with how you're running and how well you're fighting and how well you're treating the car. And both cars, sort of, not the driver, but the car itself, just reminded both drivers that, you know, you are driving a 200-mile-an-hour machine.
Just gonna jump in, Dom. Liverpool Ewan makes a fantastic move around the inside of Jamie 29X into turn 1. Liverpool Ewan moves himself up into P6 and is now hunting down the two Mercedes here of James F1 ETC and the debutant Owning Lemons. I will give him a massive, massive shout out on debut here in Invictus. Qualifies P4 and is currently maintaining that P4 and looks very comfortable doing it, Dom.
Yeah, he does. And I have seen him a bit as well. I have been popping down to see him, to see how he's doing in P4. And I tell you what, there's been a few spots where all drivers, and I'm going to say all drivers because it very much has been most of them that have had this problem. The car's just kind of reminded them that it is a 200-mile-an-hour monster, and it's kind of just stepped out a little bit and just said, hello there, and just straightened back out. Now, that is pretty normal in the rain. It very much is, you know, what the car will do. But I want to know which one of the two front runners are going to blink first, because they're almost a second ahead of the, a sector, sorry, ahead of the following pack. So I want to see which one blinks first and attempts the undercut on the other. Now, if DJ Danny goes first, I don't see Thunderdome letting that stick. I think Thunderdome will follow him in. If Thunderdome goes in first, DJ Danny will not have the time to react.
Ooh, Dom, this could be very interesting here. The Mercedes team have double stacked. I don't think the double stacks worked too well there. James F1 was stuck behind his teammate, who was coming into the pits at the same time. This has affected James's race just that little bit. I think there was a little bit of contact between James and Ewan as they were coming up to the start of that long straight at the beginning of Sector 3. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, as Liverpool Ewan is now up into P4, bear in mind, ladies and gents, you have to remember, Liverpool Ewan started this race last. Liverpool Ewan started this race stone dead last. He was P18 after qualifying.
Yeah, and had he still been 15th now, I would still say that he hasn't gained position. It's 3 given positions by 3 people that crashed out. But, you know, he's gained, what,
14 places.
14 places minus 3, so he's gained 11 positions. Because we're going to take away those 3 because they are given positions. They are by people that were in the same position, give or take. And there you go, the front runners have come in. They are a pit stop ahead of the rest of the pack, so yeah, this could be...
They followed each other in. Let's see which team has the better pit stops. DJ Danny will, of course, hit his pit box first. Thunderdome will then hit his. DJ Danny is going to be out first. Thunderdome was not able to get ahead of him. So it was just 2 very easy pit stops there by both guys. Able to.
No, but it's now a question of who can find the traction in the pit exit best, because that pit exit line does not get used. So it is still very much a tsunami on that line. So that will then tell you that Thunderdome has slightly found traction, because he was about a second before he went in. Might have lost some traction with the new tyres coming on. He doesn't look as comfortable. It does look like this rain is going to stick, so unfortunately, guys, you're not going to see this pack bunch up on the intermediate tyres. Or people take the risk on the intermediates just yet. Liverpool Ewan is now up at P13. P3.
Yes, up to P3 after Sir Sharks has dove into the pit. Sir Sharks now down to P9 following that pit stop. As we see Fairmoto and CJ Allen having a lovely little ding-dong battle here at the end of Sector 1. Why does the game like to do that to me? Behave, game, please. Give me the right driver. Again, it's given... Why does it... The game really likes giving me Liverpool Ewan tonight. I don't quite know why.
Hey, you've watched him for long enough, mate. I think if I jump off of DJ Danny and Thunderdome right about now, it's going to show them anyway, because they are, without a doubt, the fastest white drivers on Xbox in Invictus. I can't see anyone disagreeing with me there, because the following runners have got to pit, right? All the way up until, what, P9?
Technically, yeah, P8 with the exception of CJ Allen, who could technically go to the end if he wishes. His tyres would be very, very warm by the end of it, but he could technically go until the end of the race on that second set of full wet tyres.
Yeah, so he's, they've still got some time to gain back from that pit stop. So, with fresh grip as well, with less water on the track to now push away, they should find their grip again and just start pushing the water away, pushing the times back, and just gaining back that 20-30 seconds that they had originally. For reference, they were coming to the end of Sector 1, whilst the following pack, P3 down, were coming across the start-finish line.
Yeah, these guys have pulled out a massive, massive lead. As you can see, most of the cars now have put on fresh tyres. The only car left out on track yet to put on a fresh set of tyres is the current championship leader, Liverpool Ewan, who has had an absolutely mega drive here. Started P18, back of the pack, did not set a time in qualifying, and is now on that third step of the podium. My thinking is he's probably going to try and see if he can push that lead that he maintains over CJ Allen to over 23 seconds, 24 to be safe, just so he knows that he's able to get in and out of those pits without dropping position too much. Of course, Ewan does know he is a very, very fast driver, so he may be able to just beat CJ Allen on pure pace. I'm going to have a quick look at the penalties. CJ Allen does have a 3-second time penalty. So we will see if Liverpool Ewan dives into the pit now, and he does. He does indeed dive into the pits as his teammate hits a 1:47.1. Key thing to look at here is going to be CJ Allen. Where is CJ Allen going to come out? We're going to assume he's going to be out in front of Liverpool Ewan. Liverpool Ewan now sat at his pit box as CJ Allen comes down the final straight here. He is going to overtake the Renault. Now come Liverpool Ewan now leaving the pits. Gets overtaken by Sir Sharks as well. Liverpool Ewan in the middle of a battle between Sir Sharks and Jamie. 29X coming under pressure from that Red Bull driver around turn 3. Is Jamie going to be able to make the move work? He is not, but he's still there. He's still fighting that Renault of Liverpool Ewan. He's not going to get there. Jamie 29X does unfortunately go a little bit too far off track and picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. For some reason my stream has died on my laptop. There we go. We are all good again. I am back with the stream, so if there is anyone in chat I will be able to see you now. We're going to jump down a little bit further down the pack. We're going to have a look at Botch Gerbil and Raza. They are having a little bit of a battle here, the Racing Point and the Williams driver. Botch Gerbil, of course, finished P2 last week in France. It was a very, very good race from Botch Gerbil to get that P2. We'll go to this wonderful overhead shot that you get here on the game. As you can see, the McLaren of El Senado also getting very close to that Williams of Botch Gerbil. So as much as Botch Gerbil wants to attack that car ahead of him, he also has to be very, very aware of that McLaren as DJ Danny goes even faster. 147 last lap, and I'm pretty sure I just saw a 146.8. 146.845 by DJ Danny in the Renault. This man likes wet conditions, ladies and gentlemen. This man likes wet conditions just as much as he likes the dry conditions.
He likes the dry ones too. Yeah, so I was going to say, when you were talking about Liverpool Ewan going into the pits, as a rule of thumb at China, you need to have at least a 25-second gap to the car behind for you to pull out a flawless pit stop, because you've got to have 2 seconds on the fact of, first of all, the pit entry. It is 23 seconds timed from the second you cross the AI pickup point to the AI drop-off point. So, you've got to allow for an extra 2 seconds for two things. One, the length of the pit entry that is driver-driven, seeing as it is a sharp left-hander. In fact, it is just over a 90-degree angle into the turn, into the pit lane, sorry, and then you've got to allow for everyone to for your car to kind of get back up to speed a little bit, so that you can contend and maybe get that racing line back and force the car behind to slow down. So yeah, you realistically give about 25 seconds, 26 if you really, really want to be safe. I mean, he's pulled it off really well. He's starting to fight again against Sir Sharks. He's only 4 tenths down, gaining it quickly, but Thunderdome has lost about half a second since pitting.
He has indeed, as Liverpool Ewan and Sir Sharks back and forth now, going around the hairpin here at the end of lap 17 here. We are on lap 18. The leaders are on lap 18 anyway. Liverpool Union does go a little bit sideways there, under pressure from Sir Sharks, but it is going to be very much now on the back of this McLaren of Sir Sharks. Is he going to look for a move up the inside into turn 1? Gets very, very close to that car of Sir Sharks. Is he going to be able to make it work? He is not. Sir Sharks keeps that McLaren just in front of the current championship leader. Right now, DJ Danny is probably looking at this going, thank you very much, Sir Sharks. You are enabling me to close the gap on my teammate. As I say that, Liverpool Union goes for another move on Sir Sharks, forces Sir Sharks wide. And that is going to be Liverpool Union up into P4.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of Liverpool Union's racing tonight, and it's conditions based. Is very dangerous. It's very risky, and at some point he's going to try a move that's not going to work. Or he's going to run into a driver that's just not going to let him pass. Now, there's a sector, a full sector between DJ Danny and CJ Allen. It's not that I don't believe in his ability, but I don't think Liverpool Union's got the ability to catch them from here. He might be able to get a podium, but I don't think he's got the ability to catch the front runners. They are rapid tonight, and in every way you can possibly think of, congratulations to those two, because we are 9 laps out from race end, and these boys have already bagged it. Unless they bin it, they've bagged it. P1 and 2. Yeah, and I said I wanted to speak to Thunderdome. I said I wanted him on the top step, and it's still a possibility, so it is still going to be a fight to the end. So, like I said, unless they bin it, which the only real reason they'll bin it is on each other, this could be a very interesting podium.
Indeed it can. Just a reminder, ladies and gents, CJ Allen still has that 3-second time penalty. So all Liverpool Union needs to do is get himself within 3 seconds of CJ Allen, and we will have both of our Constructors Champions on the podium having a chat with us after this race. In terms of DJ Danny and Thunderdome, Dom, we say, there's a term that we use in the league racing world, and that is that DJ Danny and Thunderdome have very much checked out.
Yes, checking out. It's basically where you kind of just put your so you know how when like you go to work and stuff, you've got a card that you get given, you put it into a machine, you check in. Yeah, well, what they've done is they kind of just started the race, put that ticket back in the machine and said, we are done. We shall see you guys later. And they have left everyone in their spray. And I'm not going to call it dust, because that would mean that the track's dry. Tonight it is very much spray. And at this point, the guys aren't even in their spray anymore. There is 27 seconds, almost 28 seconds for that air to just neutralize again before CJ Allen breaks through it. That is impressive. Very much impressive. So these boys checked out a long time ago. And even when they came into the pits, I don't think either one of them blinked that Liverpool Union was close, because if we're being honest, Ewan was just there in a way. He did still need to pit, and they were like, yeah, he can do what he wants. He can overtake us for a week here. He still has to pit. We've done our job. We're just going to win this race. Me and you, together, in the wet. And it would be nice for them to especially congratulate each other for how well they've done when they come into the party post-race for the conference and stuff. But, hey, they've given each other a run for their money, and I don't think Thunderdome is stepping off of that throttle a little bit just yet.
I can completely agree with you there, Dom. Thunderdome, with 9 laps to go here in this race, will pretty much look to fight DJ Danny until that checkered flag. He wants to be able to get himself another win, get himself his first win, here in IRL, in only his 3rd race of the season. We are down with the reserve driver, CSR Jan, who is driving the Ferrari for us this evening on debut, down in P13. Just trying to see if he can catch up to that Red Bull of IRL Matt as they're coming around the long right-hander here to start Sector 3 on what is lap 20 for them. In fact, it's lap 20 for everyone until CJ Allen comes around the final corner and now crosses the line to start lap 21 for himself. And as you saw in the background there, ladies and gentlemen, that is our current championship leader, Liverpool Ewan. Bear in mind, CJ Allen has got that 3 seconds worth of time penalties, which will be added on at the end of the race. Liverpool Ewan knows that. Liverpool Ewan is aware of that. Ewan knows all he needs to do is make a second and a half on CJ Allen over these next 8 laps, and he will get himself onto that podium. He will be able to join his teammate DJ Danny here on the podium, having a chat with myself and Dom post race.
Yeah, for sure. Liverpool Ewan right now is the real Sir Sharks. He can. CJ Allen is bleeding, and Ewan can smell it. Ewan can almost taste victory, and it is coming down to the wire. He will not step off that throttle. And talking about the throttle, there's something I thought of, and I remembered speaking.
Changes something, Dom. Liverpool Ewan has a 3-second time penalty. Liverpool Ewan has just got a 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, CJ Allen's just get the biggest relief, seen the biggest relief on his screen. He can now relax. I can't say he can relax a little bit. He is still, they're still on the same straight together.
There was a little bit loaning lemons in that Ferrari, going a little bit sideways there under pressure from Farfu in the AlphaTauri as these cars are coming down the straight at the end of lap 21 here in China. Of course, the leaders are on lap 22. The lead lap is 22. These guys will be moving onto that lap very, very shortly as Farfu pulls the switch back down the inside of Owning Lemons, moves himself up into P7 in that AlphaTauri. Very, very good move there by Farfu in the AlphaTauri, Dom.
Yeah, I mean, as the wise man once said, good drivers can drive the dry, great drivers can fight the wet, and fight in the wet too. And Farfu has shown just that tonight as well. Every position he has lost, he has fought for, and I think Farfu is our Jensen Button. Really, really good. Will not give up in the wet. Can find the pace when he's been taken, and has just proven time and time again that he is championship-worthy material. He's just been on bad form.
He has indeed. We will watch Jamie 29X trying to hunt down that McLaren of Sir Sharks for P5. But you do also have to remember, ladies and gents, if we look at that penalties screen one more time, 3-second time penalties for CJ Allen, Liverpool Ewan, and Jamie 29X, along with El Senado, James F1, ETC, and Fairmoto, with CSI Yan picking up 6 seconds worth of penalties so far. The gap between Liverpool Ewan and CJ Allen now for P3 is 3.5 seconds. Liverpool Ewan would have been alright with it being at that level, knowing he only had to make half a second. But unfortunately, he needs to do a little bit more than that, as Dom, I think, has just found a little bit of a move going on. Where are you looking, Dom?
I didn't find a move, but I think Liverpool Ewan has been taking lessons from Ken Block, because that was very much sideways out of the second to last turn in China. He could have lost it and caused himself the heartache that is knowing he could have done better. Luckily, he managed to keep it straight. It has caused him a little bit of time that he's now going to have to make up, but he will be okay.
Oh, there we go. The challenge is still there for Liverpool Ewan. Has to now make up that 3.5 second gap between himself and CJ Allen if he wants to get himself on the podium this evening. We will more than likely, if he does not get himself on the podium, still get Liverpool Ewan into the party with us, because, of course, Renault are our Constructors Champions here in Xbox F1 for Season 12. So we will have a chance to be able to chat with both of those Renault drivers at the end of this race to congratulate them both. We are, though, a little bit further down the pack. We're having a look at Botched Gerbil in the Williams, trying to hunt down one of the debutants that we have here this evening in Owning Lemons in the Mercedes, who, despite being in P8, I will say has put a very, very strong account for himself in Dom. Would you agree?
Yeah, he has. They all have. This is not an easy league to find your feet in. I mean, unfortunately for Shush, you know, and this is very respectable. I mean, XHRC has even said he knows how bad it can be and how he feels. But yeah, so obviously he had his issues, but up until he had his issues, he was doing fabulously. And I mean, CSI Jan, like I said, it's hard to find your foot in, especially in the wet. I mean, he could be the best driver in the dry.
As Fairmoto goes off on the long right-hander. Fairmoto down in P15 at the moment. Really, really struggling for grip as El Sonedo comes into the pits from P12. So El Sonedo will drop down the field. Unfortunately, El Sonedo is retiring from the race. Massive respect, as always, to our drivers for having the wherewithal to retire in the pit lane rather than on track. It is the safest place to retire your car if you are going to do so. Fairmoto is now also coming into the pits himself. Going a bit sideways there as he comes into the pits. Really, really struggling with grip on this Williams car. That is not ideal for
And I think he's about to get
Fairmoto. He is going to retire from the race. I want to quickly comment on Thunderdome, Dom. 4 tenths separate him and DJ Danny. We're going to jump to the battle at the front of this race. DJ Danny versus Thunderdome. Renault versus Alpha.
I've been enjoying this fight. I haven't even touched my controller since this fight started.
Well, you can now move, son.
And I've been sat here just like watching this fight. It's been beautiful.
Well, you can go somewhere else
DJ
now.
Danny has made. So I'll fill you in whilst you're
please do.
watching these two. These two have every move. So DJ Danny has commanded the race, right? And every move DJ Danny has done, Thunderdome has copied to the inch. Every time Danny has moved just to try and break the toe on the straight, yeah, Thunderdome's done the same. And every time, you know, Danny has slid it out a little bit in a corner, you can bet that Thunderdome's done the same. They have been tandem all race, and it has been such a beautiful just race to watch between these two. So yeah, big respect to both riders, and big respect for neither of them giving up, because one of them could have given up laps ago, and neither of them have. As you'll see here, look, Danny moves to the right, Thunderdome moves to the right, Danny moves to the left, Thunderdome copies just that.
It's very, very professional driving by both of these drivers, the Renault of DJ Danny and the Alfa Romeo of Thunderdome. We did very, very briefly jump down whilst Dom was giving us that little bit of a recap on the two guys at the front. Two Botched Gerbil, who did attempt a move on Owning Lemons into turn 2 and 3. Fortunately, couldn't make the move work. Owning Lemons did fight that back and maintain P8. Unfortunately, we have now lost CSR Yan. CSR Yan has now, unfortunately... Oh, wrong person.
Oh, he spun it. He spun it on the exit of turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
We will go on board with... Yeah, I was going to say we'll go on board with Danny to see if we can see the forlorn Ferrari there of CSR Yan, but the game does move it out of the way in time for the race leaders to get up there. We are going to very, very quickly, though, jump down to Jamie29X, who has made a move on Sir Sharks. Why has the game done that to me again? There we go. There we go. We are with Jamie29X. Makes that move on Sir Sharks, moves himself up into P5. 5 now the gap for Liverpool Ewan. He has 3 laps left to try and see if he can catch that AlphaTauri of CJ Allen. 2.7 seconds is the gap. He will need to catch CJ Allen at 9/10 a lap to be able to overtake that AlphaTauri. Is it possible, Dom, from where he currently is?
Okay, do you want my nice opinion or do you want my honest opinion?
Either or, my friend.
The nice opinion is I'd like to see him do it. The honest opinion is too little, too
Probably
late.
not.
However, CJ Allen could always pick up another 3-second time penalty. I'm not trying to jinx it, I'm not. But someone has been taking the Lewis Hamilton line out of the final turn. So, is it possible he could pick it? He could be the one doing it, and he could pick it up? Possibly. Could he pick up an extra 3 seconds? Yeah, it's possible he could. Could Ewan then take P3? Damn right he could.
I think if I'm Liverpool Ewan, I am very much hoping that CJ Allen ahead of me does pick up another 3-second time penalty. As horrible as that sounds, Farfu picks up a 3-second time penalty, as just Jamie29X picking up a second 3-second time penalty, moves him on to 6 seconds worth of penalties, and Farfu on to 3. IRL Max also now
on 3.
picks up a 3-second time penalty, and DJ Danny has pushed the lead he maintains over Thunderdome to now over a second, Dom.
Yeah, these two have been great, so respectful to each other all race. I mean, like I said, it'll be upsetting if they don't congratulate each other on such a hard-fought race after, post-race.
I'm sure those guys, well, the guys here in IRL are very, very respectful drivers, and they know when talent meets talent. These guys are talking pretty much daily in the Invictus Racing League Discord. These guys know each other very, very well. They have chats with each other on a regular basis, and they just like to see top quality racing, as do we, as DJ Danny puts in a 1:46.524 on his penultimate lap. The two leaders are now starting their final laps of the race, as the chasing pack are just taking the final hairpin at the end of the straight. There is Liverpool Ewan in the Renault. Raza picks up
I
a
would like to
3-second
point
time
out
penalty.
that at this point, that Thunderdome and DJ Danny are both a full sector ahead of anyone in this race.
They are indeed. The top 4 have now moved onto the final lap of this race. You are going to start seeing the other cars behind now start crossing the line. There we go. Jamie29X has now also started his final lap of the race. We're going to go and have a look again at Botch Gerbil, who could potentially make a move here on only lemons if he thinks he is close enough to that Mercedes. Under braking into turn 1, decides that discretion is the best part of valor and does not go for the move just yet. Holding that car very, very well. We have had someone going a little bit slowly. I think that's James F1 ETC. He's dove into the pits. I think he may have had a little bit of a spin there. James moving himself into the pits. As James goes into the pits, just want to give you guys an idea of how quick these guys are. James F1 ETC has just come into the pits. DJ Danny and Thunderdome have just left the back straight. DJ Danny is now coming across the final corner and is about to cross the line to win the race here in China. DJ Danny 1:46.353 picks up the fastest lap of the race so far, and now we look at the battle behind. CJ Allen, is he going to make sure that he keeps it clean through these final few turns? Are we going to be able to have a chat with CJ Allen on the podium as well as Liverpool Ewan? Yes, we are. CJ Allen picks up P3 here in China, and Liverpool Ewan finishes in 4th place. We will jump a little bit further down to Farfu, who's having a little bit of a battle with Sir Sharks down for P6. I don't think it's going to be enough, though. I think Jamie is going to maintain P5. Sir Sharks and Farfu cross the line. Sir Sharks does, in fact, overtake Jamie 29X, as does owning Lemons. Farfu, of course, with his time penalty, drops down to P9. Bot Gerbil inherits P8. Raza finishes P10. IRL match P11. And now we just wait for James F1 ETC to finish his lap. We will, as I say, get the top 3. In fact, we'll get the top 4 into the party this evening. We will get Liverpool Ewan to come in, as well as Danny, CJ Allen, and Thunderdome. It's only fair that we have a chat with the 2 Constructors Championship winners. So as we are watching James F1 cross the line, Dom, who are you giving driver of the day to?
My driver of the day is Thunderdome, for sure. 100%. He has given his blood, sweat, and tears in this race. And yes, he's only pulled off a P2, but he has pulled off the most spectacular just follow drive I've ever seen.
Indeed, Liverpool Ewan gets driver of the day for his 18th to 4th drive there. Very, very strong performance by our championship leader. Gentlemen, as always, as you join the parties, please make sure that your audio is included. So just jump into the party and just make sure that the tick for the party to include your audio is ticked, just so the guys on stream are able to hear you. Congratulations to the top 3, and then of course Liverpool Ewan. Ewan, we will come to you at the end along with Danny. So we will start, Dom, with P3 and CJ Allen. I will hand over to you, my friend.
Yeah, congratulations CJ Allen. Great race, great drive. How are you feeling after such a wet race?
That's man. It's just a relief really to get through it. It was tough from start to finish. I think the setup that I thought I set it up well for the wet, but it was a bit shaky. You could tell at the start it was kind of very squiggly.
Yeah, it was. I mean, towards the end of the race, I say towards the end of the race, towards about a quarter of the way in, you started to look a lot more comfortable. Did you just kind of find your groove?
Yeah, I'd say when I saw Liverpool Ewan kind of catching me for a bit, I was starting to make a few mistakes, maybe dropped like half a second, almost a full second to the lap. And then I just kind of, yeah, like you say, I started getting my groove and started to even out.
Definitely. Obviously, unfortunately, the Constructors Championship is now out of reach. Are you still going to continue fighting for your points? You know, knowing now that you can't quite win the Constructors, but you, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, you're just apparently you're just outside of points, but you're still going to fight for like the top 3.
Do you mean personally myself or just Alpha Tauri team?
Personally and AlphaTauri.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I've got Farfu's my teammate is pretty good, and for the rest of the group, it's kind of like the battle against Mercedes with Danny and Liverpool Ewan, really. So it's kind of being best of the rest. So yeah, I've definitely pushed to try and become second in the Constructors.
Awesome. We had 3 new drivers in today. How do you feel about their performances? Unfortunately, 2 of them did DNF eventually. One of them lost feedback as well. But how do you feel they done as well? Because from what we saw, it was a great drive from them. And it would also be nice to, you know, get a third opinion on new drivers coming to the league. Do you feel like the new drivers could potentially cause a bit of a shake-up in the following season? It is, yeah. Yeah, I will get to Thunderdome just now. He did shake up the grid a bit tonight. But yeah, congratulations on a P3. You fought amazingly. You barely flinched when you saw the fluid chasing you towards the end, and it was a great drive, especially in the conditions. I would now like to move on to Thunderdome. Congratulations, mate.
Thank you very much.
Well, I thought conditions were horrendous, and you were phenomenal.
It was terrible. Yeah.
How are you feeling about being behind such a strong, quiet driver?
I'm very, very happy. Being that close to Danny, obviously I knew how fast he was. Obviously last week in France, I was kind of hoping to be in front of him this week, but sadly that didn't happen. But I'm quite happy with my performance this week.
Yeah, you put a position on last week. You jumped up a step. Obviously, you stayed behind. You were about a second behind Danny for the majority of the race. There were a few times that you dropped under, and you stayed under for a while, and then there was a few laps that you kind of just tipped over, and you were about a second and a tenth behind him. And I think the question I'm going to ask you is, when he went into the pits, were you going to mirror exactly what he did? Because what I saw, you mirrored every move he made, so it would make sense that you maybe mirrored his strategy too.
Yeah, the original plan was to stop on the end of lap 14, not the end of lap 13. But obviously when I seen Danny come in, I was thinking of my pace, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to get that pace to sort of undercut him, especially on new tyres. So I just thought, obviously I'll mirror him, and I'll see what I can do on the new tyres.
Well, you've done it amazingly, and like I said, it was a fantastic performance from the two of you. Congratulations, Renata, because towards the end of the race, you were a full sector behind anyone else, ahead of everyone else. Sorry, which is phenomenal.
Thank you very much.
We're at Spain next week. Are you confident that you can again upset the grid day?
Haven't actually raced at Spain at all on this game. But same with China. Obviously, this was the first time, but the first time practicing on this game. So I think hopefully I'll be there. That will be the goal, will be to at least get a podium, like it always is. So hopefully we can get that.
Well, I mean, you took a step up this week. You're on the second step. Hopefully we can upset the grid a little bit more and get you on the top step next week, right?
That is definitely the goal. Definitely the goal.
Well, congratulations tonight, man. It was hard fought. I don't think you pulled off the throttle until the end, so massive congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm just going to move on real quickly, Keiran, to our regular DJ Danny. First of all, two things. Congratulations on your win tonight.
Thank you.
It must have been so hard fought with Thunderdome being so competitive behind you. And also a massive congratulations on winning the Constructors title too.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it was a weird race because it was very tough, but it wasn't because there was side by side action with me and Thunderdome. It was just that he was constantly there, and it meant that I had to basically make no mistakes, and he kept me very, very honest. I think the problem is just that in weather like that, if he ever got close, I could just dump my overtake, and I think I had slightly less downforce than him, just based on the straights I was pulling away, even when it seemed like we were both using an overtake. So I think, it was very tough to keep him behind for that many laps and have the concentration to keep him behind because he was very quick, and kept me very, very honest.
Yeah. I said on the stream that every move he made, he copied. Were you worried at all during that you could have copied one of your moves and it could have made up a bit better?
I was more worried about the reason I boxed on lap 13 is because I was worried about the undercut, to be honest, because I saw a few guys pitted, and I knew that anywhere from lap 8 you could go to the end on tyres, so I was just worried about him getting the undercut, and then because he was only 8 tenths a second behind, so I boxed on lap 13, and to be honest, the only potential issue I could have had is being held in the pits, but luckily I did not, and I came out ahead, and to be honest, the undercut probably would have worked, because I put purple with the sector as soon as I came out of the pits. So yeah, it was I'm kind of glad he mirrored me in a way, because it meant that I didn't have to have the pressure of pushing on a lap that if he was trying to undercut or overcut or whatever. So yeah, kind of happy in a way.
Well, massive congratulations, mate. I like Keiran take on, but yeah, congratulations on both your wins tonight, the constructors win, and getting closer in the championship standings to your own teammate level.
I believe the gap's 2 points now, something like that.
I believe it should be something similar.
A little bit closer than that, Ewan. I'll comment on that one in just a second, my friend. Danny, we're getting a little bit of feedback from your mic.
Oh, sorry.
That's alright.
One second.
Just quickly adjust your mic for us, mate.
Is that better?
There we go. Yeah, we're all sorted now. So, as Dom said, massive congratulations for winning this evening's race. The restart that you had at the first time round, did that affect you in any way mentally? Knowing that you'd got off to a pretty decent start the first time round, and then obviously you get told about the lobby reset. Does that sort of knock you back a little bit, knock your confidence a little bit, or were you sort of quite narrowed on?
To be honest, not really. I mean, starts is probably like an area I'm pretty confident in. They don't always go well, but I think I was confident of hopefully keeping the lead. It's just one of those things where it happens and you just have to reset and go again. Yeah, not much else I can say on that really.
Yeah, of course. So, Dom did mention the battle with Thunderdome to Thunderdome. At what point did you sort of realise that you'd, in a way, checked out of the race and you knew that sort of top 2 was the sort of worst case scenario for you?
Probably after the first pit stops when we came out ahead of everyone else. It was one of those where, unless we made a massive mistake, I think P2 is the worst I was going to get today. But to be honest, I would have been dissatisfied with P2 after qualifying on pole. So yeah, I'm happy just to get the win.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, if my calculations are correct, the win along with the fastest lap for yourself gives you 16 points. Ewan finishing in 4th should give him 8. So it's 8 points you've put on Ewan. Before this race, the gap between the two of you was 9. So going into Spain next week, a point separates the two of you. What is going through your head right now, knowing that you're a point behind your teammate and the potential for a Drivers' Championship win?
I forgot about the point for fastest lap, to be honest. I thought it was going to be 2 points. Yeah, I mean, a couple of races ago, I thought it was probably a bit too much of a gap because Keiran was flying in the first few races. But I think, yeah, 1 point behind. It's all to play for, and yeah, I think that championship is the target now, because the objective is just to finish ahead of you now, wherever that may be.
Yeah, of course. So we will bring Ewan in now. As Dom did say, Dom gave you a very, very brief congratulations, and I will pass on a congratulations from myself as well. You guys are the Season 12 Constructors Champions here on the Xbox F1 side of things in the Renault team. Between the two of you, out of the 10 races we've had this season, you've won 7 of them as a team. What is the secret to your speed and your success this season?
Was that for you or for me?
It was for either of you, whichever one of you wants to answer. We'll go both of you. We'll start with you, Danny.
I don't think there's anything particular. I think obviously we both know that we're pretty good on our days, and I think some races, for me personally, some races I've had a little bit of luck in getting a victory or two, but I think we just obviously Ewan has improved a lot over the from last season to this season, and he's a very strong and fast guy. So to have him as a teammate, it helps us push each other, and I think it gets the best out of each other as well. So I think that's helped with getting the results that we have for Renault.
Indeed. So, and Ewan, you got anything to add on to what Danny said there?
I don't think so. I agree. I think it's just a mix of pace and consistency. I've said loads of times it's one thing being quick, but also just keeping consistent, keeping the penalties down, which Danny especially is really good at. And yeah, as he said, we sort of just push each other, be as quick as we can, which is what you want in a teammate.
Indeed. So the provisional standings have come out on the website, and I can confirm that you're on 103 points, and Danny, you're on 102. So there is a point between you going into the final 2 races of the season. Ewan, I will quickly turn to you, because you have got some records that you could potentially break this season. You're currently sitting on 103 points. The record for points in a season is 103.5, set by DXTHK in Season 10. So knowing that there's only a point before you break that record, and the overall record for IRL Xbox being 118, do you think you've got it within you in these last 2 races to get the 16 points you need to take the overall record for most points in the season?
I'll give it a go. I didn't really know the actual statistics. Of course, I've just sort of, been focusing on myself and how I've been doing. But yeah, of course, if it's there to be beaten, then I'm definitely going to try and beat it. But I think the priority right now is just making sure I win the championship.
Of course. So I will again pass the question to both of you guys. Spain next week. The Barcelona Catalunya. Is it a track that you are comfortable with? A track that you feel that you'll be able to one-up each other on? We'll start with Ewan.
I'm not sure. I suppose we'll see next week. I'm not sure how I'll be. To be fair, I haven't raced there in a while, so that'll definitely be interesting. Both strategy, and I think it's not too difficult to overtake as well there, so yeah, it will definitely be a good one to watch.
Indeed it shall. Danny?
Spain, I'm okay at. Not my best track, but not my worst. I think the strategies are quite, for a dry race, strategies can be quite wide open in terms of what tyre use and whether you sacrifice quality or not. But I think, it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
There we go, that's what we like to hear. So, Dom has had to very briefly pop away from his mic, but he has asked me to pass on another congratulations to you guys, which I will do the same. So, again, a massive congratulations to both of you guys for winning the Constructors Championship this season in Season 12 of IRL Xbox. And we look forward to the battle between the two of you into the final 2 races of the season. So, thank you guys.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, will bring us to the end of this evening's broadcast. A massive congratulations, as always, to our podium and, of course, the Renault team for winning those Constructors Championships. A massive thank you, as always, to every single one of you who has joined us this evening and continues to show support to IRL here on Twitch. IRL Xbox will continue on Thursday evening, when Andrew and Dom, who is filling in for Matty this week, will take you through the action in the Realistic Performance Division. Dom and I will then be back on your screens next Tuesday with the F1 Division from the Spanish Grand Prix, so please join us then. But for more IRL racing action, be sure to head over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/InvictusRL. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at InvictusRL and at InvictusRL_Xbox. On Instagram at Invictus Racing League, and of course be sure to check out the website InvictusRacingLeague.com if you'd like to drive for us. But until next time, from myself, Keiran Wright 92 and Dom the Noodle, thank you for watching and good night.